I welcome all our participants to this beautiful program. And I should be thankful to Gauriji, who consider me as the family member and whom I also consider as my own. And I am so thankful to Gauriji to give me such a chance to present my idea in front of you regarding this Dharma Sutra, the Dharma Shastra, and everything related to the ideas related to them. So this particular Shastra Adhyana will never be completed without the beginning of Guru Vandanam. So I pray to my Guru, all of my Gurus who have taught me, who have inspired me to reach this particular place. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Today's topic is basically the Dharma Sutra, discourses and prescription for a Vedic society. Of course, I will be speaking about Dharma Sutra, basically focus and their subject matters, what they intended to speak about, what have not reached to us with the medium of translation or with the time period or whatever, or even it is missing or something. Also, I would give you a little slight idea about how these Dharma Sutras have originated, what are their timings and types, and what exactly Dharma Shastra and Dharma Sutra, how they are different, and what is their basic difference we could have seen or we are seeing in the Shastra. So, as Gauriji has already mentioned to you people about the Sharavedangas, I need not to be going more into detail. I will jump into the Kalpa Vedanga, which is the Moola of this particular Sutra Grantha or Sutra Shastra, you may say. So this Kalpo Veda Vihitanam Karmanam Anupurvena Kalpana Shastra, basically this Kalpa Shastra means what you are being instructed by the Vedas to perform the Vedic karmas. Those are basically the Kalpa Shastras. And this Kalpa Shastra is basically known as the hands of Veda Purusha. So just imagine this Veda Purusha who is having, the hand, the mastaka, the limbs, and everything. So one of this body part is actually the hand, and this hand is being the kalpana, the imagination. If you can do it, then it will be kalpa. And it is being, attributed, it has been discussed by so many famous scholars that that why and what purpose. Now, if you see what is the importance of Kalpa Shastra, that there are possibilities, they say, according to our Kumarila Bhatta, the famous scholar, according to him, that sacrifices can be done by Vedas. It's not impossible. But the jnana, the knowledge of performing these sacrifices, cannot be possible without this Kalpa Sutras, because they are the essence, they are the base of this particular thing. They teach us how to do it. Now, Kalpa Sutra, as Gauriji has already mentioned, has been divided into 4 categories. Shrauta Sutra, which is actually the sacrificial manuals. Here you have instructions about various type of yagyas like Chandrayana or our various types of yagyas. Griha Sutras, this is basically the domestic rituals, what kind of homas you've been performing at the house, being a grihastha, or whatever the puja, Sandhya Bandhanam, whatever the rituals like Achamanam, Tarpanadi, whatever, it will be discussed in Griha Sutra. Dharma Sutra basically instruct you about social code, duties and achara, vyavahara. All these kind of aspects has been given to you by Dharma Sutras. And Sulya Sutras, these are basically the technological materials, means what should be the size of the Yajna Kunda and which dimension it should be there, the Vastu, and all these things will be discussed by the Sulya Sutras. So since we are going to focus only on Dharma Sutras, I will be skipping to it. Let's jump to the main topic. To our today's topic is Dharma Sutra. Now, first thing comes to our mind is what is the meaning of Dharma Sutra word itself? Dharma, we understand. I mean, we think we understand. Like if you read the history of Dharma Shastra, which is written by the famous scholar Mahamopadhyaya, Panduranga Bhamankani. And that particular book, the first page itself, he's declaring, he's saying that it's not possible to understand the meaning of dharma because it is different from every situation. It is difficult to even implement in every situation. So it may be different for the case of a student. It may be different for a case of a teacher. It may be different for a case of a brahmachari, or it will be different for a case of a grihastha, the married person and all. So yes, dharma has a different meaning, but in general, if you see a summary or a normal understanding, it establish. They say dharma is to establish, but what it establishes, that actually the mystery or maybe the fill in the blank. It establish our sadachara, it establish our belief, it establish our social systems, it can establish anything. It is the main source of our life. So dharma. Now what is the meaning of sutra? In Sanskrit, the sutra meaning is thread. Literal meaning is thread. But dharma, sutra, if you join this together, dharma thread. So yes, this particular name has been given because of this. These all Vedic statements, the supplements, which are only written in sutra style. It is written in one line, just like a simple one thread. Now that is why the name has been given to it. Now Dharma Sutra basically represent the dharma. Now, as I mentioned, dharma has a different meaning, not only in the practical aspect as well as in different shastras. So here they mentioned that this is a moral, religious behavior, and this is a social norms. It describes social norms, duties of humans, punishment, the penance, the tapasya, prayashchita, etc., which is not limited to the modern definition of dharma as a criminal and civil law. Yes, that's a very interesting thing to know. That, as I had mentioned here, if you go, normally when people say dharma, what is the meaning of dharma? Duties. That's it. Responsibilities, or maybe the law. No, it's not only limited to it. It is a bigger aspect, just in case we need to remember. Now, since Dharma Sutras are basically influenced by the Griha Sutras, why? Because Griha Sutras are defining, as I mentioned, you can see in the previous slide, domestic rituals. And domestic means it's related to the society. Okay, so I mean, something related to the humans' day-to-day activities. That is what is most of the things means related. But Dharma Sutra is more expand. It's more bigger than the Griha Sutras. It's not limited to. Now we have seen Bodhayana, Apastamba, Hiranyakeshi, and Vaikhanasa. This four we are knowing as a very popular Griha Sutras, and Dharma Sutras are basically various Dharma Sutra, which we will see in the next slide, are related to this. Now, the first big question, what is the difference between Dharma Shastra and Dharma Sutra? There has been many discussion. I have come up with a few ideas, the components, which might help us look into these two things separately. Now, just before we go to this particular slide, I just wanted to mention, people say, the scholar says, Dharma Shastra includes Smritis. You might have heard about Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, Narada Smriti, Vasishtha Smriti, various Smritis you might have heard. The Smriti and the Vedic rituals called Sutras, part of Dharma Shastra. Some scholars says that may be true, because why it is true? All the topics discussed in Smritis and Dharma Sutras are interrelated. In fact, some of them have borrowed the Dharma Sutras are being borrowed by some of the smritis, which we will discuss in the next few slides. So now how we will know that Dharma Shastra is different from Dharma Sutra? I just mentioned to you by the etymological, by just a simple understanding, Dharma, thread Dharma. That is what I told you. But when you say Shastra, which is something deeper. Let's see. So in the form, when you see these two category, Dharma Sutra is basically a prose text, predominantly intermixed with verses, which means some of the Dharma Sutras are entirely prose in format, but some of the Dharma Sutras are intermixed with the prose plus verses. But when it comes to Dharma Shastra, they are very specified and they are limited to verses only. Now, origin. Most of the Dharma Sutras doesn't speak about that Manu has been created and this Srishti has been created and this was happened and all these things has not been discussed in Dharma Sutra, whereas in Dharma Shastra, basically they speak about this Srishti Prakriya in the beginning of the first beginning of the text, and they speak about the divine origin like Manusmriti. They said the Prajapati Manu has been originated. Now language. This is more archaic language and this is a material. I mean, when you read the shloka, obviously you will remember more, and this is more of an archaic style. Topics, what they discuss. In Dharma Sutra, you won't find proper headings. You won't find proper arrangement of topic. Example, let's say we are discussing about samskaras. What is samskara? I will discuss later. Just hear it. So the samskaras. Now, they may say that the Upanana samskara, Bibaha samskara, it should be in one place, right? But it doesn't in Dharma Sutra. Whereas in Dharma Shastra, it always in the section head and topics will be discussed afterwards. Historical preferences, more of a, as I mentioned, more of a resemblance with the Briha Sutra, reason I have already told. Dharma Sutra basically doesn't showcase any resemblance with any other text. We could see they have borrowed from various Dharma Sutras, but they don't specify the names. Affiliations. Many Dharma Sutras, they are affiliated to certain Vedas, but in Dharma Shastra, they're equal to all. They give importance to all 4 Vedas. But here in Dharma Sutra, they will be into one particular Veda category. Now, their authorship and date, as usual, I would like to say the same thing which all our Sanskrit scholars, Sanskrit clan is facing currently. It's a very difficult process to, collect the data about the author and the date, the writing date of the particular text in Sanskrit literature. It's a basic common problem we all face, but we do get references. We have scholars, we have gone through many surveys and many readings and give us some kind of idea that maybe this would be the time, maybe. So may not be the confirmed one, and of course it will be a different version of every scholars. So scholars like Gautama, Vasishtha, Bodhayana, Sankhya, these are the famous name of famous Dharma Sutras, have been quoted, actually have been quoted, credited in many smritis, brahmanas and samhitas. So now there has been some discussion which I will tell you later. The scholars certainly believe that Dharma Sutras, the Gautama, Bodhayana, Apastamba, belong to 600 to 300 BC, whereas Harita, Hiranyakeshin, etc. belong to 600 to 180. We have proof here, which they declare that this is what happened. This is the Gautama's period, and if they have discussed about all these things that Gautama's name has been discovered in other books, other texts, as we mentioned. So we know it. Now, another thing which we see, scholars give an idea that Dharma Shastra is actually the post of Dharma Sutras. They argue over it. They say it. In fact, the P.B. Kane, the Pandita P.B. Kane has also supported the same idea that Dharma Shastras are after the Dharma Sutras. But if you see the Gautama Dharma Sutra style, Dharma Shastrani Angani Upavedah Puranam. So there might be a possibility that there was Dharma Shastra even before the Dharma Sutras. And for the clarification, Gautama Dharma Sutra is one of the oldest Dharma Sutra among all the Dharma Sutra texts currently, which we have. So there might be a possibility, we are getting a proof from Gautama Dharma Sutra that Dharma Shastras were existed even before the Dharma Sutras as per the book reference itself. Now, I also have given some examples. This tade tat, this angat anga sambhavashi, mithunanam visargado manu swayam babu abrabhi. This particular Dharma Shastram cha tatha Patanjali, these all lines actually defines that Manu swayam bhuvo. This is basically, maybe they are saying about the Manusmriti. Some of they say, I think, no, this is not the same Manu who has written the Manusmriti. But yes, we have some kind of a not particular verified statement. It might be before of it. But the timing of Dharma Sutra is this, as you can see. Now, let's go through the particularly the 8 Dharma Sutras text that Gautama, Bodhayana, Apastamba, Hiranyakeshi, Vasishta, Vishnu, Harita, Sankhalikhita. These basically these Dharma Sutra texts are popular currently and available, of course. That is why. Now, let's see the Dharma Sutras. What exactly they have in their contents, what they say, what they have, the chapters and all. Gautama Dharma Sutra, it has been referred in Bodhayana, Vasishta Dharma Sutra and Yagyavalka Smriti. As I mentioned you before, every Dharma Sutra belongs to some category of Veda. Here, the Gautama Dharma Sutra is actually studied by most of the follower of Sama Veda. It has 28 chapters, 973 sutras in total. What are the peculiar views? See, what I have found here is there are general views like samskara, vibaha, samavartana, the education and everything, then the shraddha, tarpana, many things are similar. But what is different? What makes this particular Dharma Sutra different from the another? So they speak about 8 moral qualities like ahimsa, satya and all. Niyoga system, this is basically a different aspect of which has been discussed in this Gautama Dharma Sutra and more in Mahabharata. It's a popular one and also a controversial one. Anuloma and Pratiloma marriages, you may say in the current word or the modern word, it's intercaste marriages or intervarna marriages or Varna Shankara, maybe. And Gautama Dharma Sutra speaks about 40 samskara. Maybe many of you might have heard about 16, 30. But this particular Dharma Sutra says that a human life is full of 40. It's a total of 40 samskaras. Now, Bodhayana Dharma Sutra is being referred by Gautama and Apastamba Sutra. It is being followed by the Krishna Yajurveda followers. It's been read by them only. It has 4 prashnas. Now, interestingly, here the chapter names means prashnas and which is available. Maybe it has more chapters, but till the date, we got only 4 prashnas. They say that in the category of inheritance and the right of property, they give more importance to the elder son. So you have to give the major share to them, according to the Bodhayana Dharma Sutra. They say that moral values can only be said and established by the Shishtas, good people. And securing Siddhi in the sense, the Upasana, the Moksha and all, by Kricha, Atikricha penances. There are kinds of tapasya, they have Kricha and Atikricha. The next one is Apastamba Dharma Sutra and Hiranyakeshi. It is Apastamba Dharma Sutra is basically the compact and concise style of Bodhayana Dharma Sutra, belong to the Taittiriya Shakha of Krishna Yajurveda. And it's also mentioned by Bhavishya Purana, quoted in the commentary of Manusmriti and Purva Mimamsa as well. It has 2 prashnas, which consist of 11 patalas. And this particular prashnas and patalas, basically the 28th and 29th prashna of Apastamba Kalpa Sutra, directly from it. So this particular Dharma Sutra is part of Apastamba Kalpa Sutra itself. Now here they use the most of the technical terms found in Purva Mimamsa. It encourages the monogamy, preserves women's rights, prescribes the penance for the person who lends money at a higher interest rate. So they actually speaks about something very different. Punishment for Dvija Varnas. Now basically you won't find this kind of a peculiar statement, but this particular Dharma Sutra says, and punishment for homicide, adultery as well. Now Hiranyakeshi Dharma Sutra is basically a correspondence between Apastamba and Hiranyakeshi Dharma Sutram. It has two prashna, and this is also to 26 and 29 prashnas of Apastamba Kalpa Sutra. It is actually belong to that particular thing. And it has borrowed. It is nothing new. You might see. Almost it has borrowed the sutras from Apastamba Dharma Sutra. Next one is Vasishtha. It is it quotes freely. It actually freely quotes the Vedic mantras, and it corresponds with Vana, Shanti, Anushasana Parva of Mahabharata. Now you might have a thinking that maybe Mahabharata is written before here. Yes, of course, as you can see. It has 30 chapters. Some people say it's 6, 10, 20, 21, 32. Why? Because the versions we get as a manuscripts are showing the different chapter numbers. So it describes the rules of adoption, how to adopt. Another remarkable statement given by this Dharma Sutra, how to remarry the child widows. It only describes about the 6 types of marriages. Then it recommends all the Dvijas to have Upanana Samskara by 8th year, from their birth to till from the birth. When they reach the 8th year, you should have the Samskara. It talks about 3-fold of Pramanas: document and witness, possession, to give the punishment or to go ahead with the judgment. That is why it is very peculiar. It has almost 61 verses of Manusmriti, which is very similar to it. So maybe Manusmriti has, borrowed from Vasishtha Dharma Sutra, we can assume from here. Vishnu Dharma Sutra, this is belong to, or this is being followed by Katha school of Yajurveda. Almost 160 verses are very similar to Manusmriti, and it is being quoted by Puranas, Aitareya Brahmana, etc. It is a mixture of prose and verses, which has 100 chapters. And here they have spoken about Anupatakas, Mahapatakas, a variety type of Yama, Yamaloka, where you will go along with your scene. So they have discussed about it. This particular Dharma Sutra, basically, as you can see, the name itself, it glorify or it promotes the worship of Vasudeva. It speaks about the public utilities like toilets, ponds and all, road, everything. I also suggest for secret penances to remove your sins, which may be not done by you intentionally, but have done it. So you can do some secret penances. This is the last slide for the Dharma Sutras. Harita Dharma Sutra. This is quoted by Bodhayana, Apastamba Vaishishtya, Vasishtha Dharma Sutra. Then it is published as basically Laghu Harita Smriti or Briddha Harita Smriti. Okay, so we do not get a proper version of this Dharma Sutra. So this is, we get 2 kinds of Laghu Harita Smriti and Briddha Harita Smriti. It has been quoted by Nibandhas, Smriti Chandrika and all. It doesn't have a proper arrangement of chapters, so we don't know how many chapters it has. Then some peculiar ideas speaks about 2 kinds of women. It gives a wider meaning to the Vedas, of course, and also speaks about Brahmavadinis and Sadyavadhus. They speak about it. Then it prohibits the employment of Brahmana actor for Shraddha rites. It doesn't promote, saying that those who are Brahmana actors, they cannot have to act for the, Shraddha karma. So those who are actually designated for this Shraddha karma, please call them or just ask them to do it, not any other person. Now, Shankha Likhita Smriti, Dharma Sutram, then this is basically found in Mahabharata's Shanti Parva, chapter I have already mentioned, and it is being followed by Shukra Yajurveda. Again, the same condition. Here we do not get a proper arrangement of chapters, but we do get 321 verses available in this particular Dharma Sutra. This is actually a story about the two brothers, Shankha and Likhita. And this particular conversation has happened here in Mahabharata. Now, discussion over Aryabharta is also mentioned. 12 kind of secondary sons, for example, any Varna Shankara are getting married, and what exactly will happen to them, or how many sons they will have, what kind of sons they will have. Those are things are given. Detail on partitions and inheritance elaborates the Tarpana system, emphasizes over it. Now we saw many Dharma Sutras. So what exactly their ideas? Some specific, because we do not have much of a time. I am going to specify a simple certain things. So here in Dharma Sutra in general, you will see the Varnashrama system. What is this Varnashrama system? Varna is 4 types: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Ashrama is also 4 types: Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Banaprastha, and Sannyasa. Now, let's just discuss about what is the idea of Varna and Ashrama. Varna basically has been divided based on their inner personality, their intention to work, their personal qualities to work on. Then Ashrama is basically your lifestyle, your ultimate life, what you exactly do eventually. I'll say how it is related. Now, ideas of Varnashrama system, why they have suggested in every Dharma Sutras. They wanted to establish a balanced distribution of duties and responsibilities. You should not be burdened. One person should not be burdened with all the work. If you are equally distributing, along with the encouragement of personal qualities, of course. Now, I do not have an interest in, business. I should not be forced into it. Maybe my sister and my cousin would be, but I am more interested in teaching. So I may be taking the duty of teaching, learning, and studying all these kind of things. And she can or he can manage the business thing, which is a family business or whatever, to sustain, sustain this house or maintain the house or whatever. So we are balancing anyhow. Again, we have a very severe misconception that Varna system has destroyed this current society. No. If you follow the Bhagavad Gita, as well as all the Dharma Sutras, they specify, they clearly mention that Varna, a particular person is not, cannot be belong to a specific Varna by birth, because Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. They are saying clearly their Guna and their Karma will decide that which Varna they should belong to it. It also made realize that this natural 4 stages of life, as I mentioned, Brahmacharya Ashrama, let me give you a practical example. We do have these 4 ashramas even today's life. We do have study period till 27, 25, 24 years old. We are actually studying, and then we are doing a job, and we are getting married immediately. So Brahmacharya is till 24 currently. I'm not going with the Dharma Sutra's idea. What was their period of time or specified time? I'm not saying that. But how is it related? How it is natural, still existing? Grihastha, of course, once you're married, you are being the married person. You will do eventually whatever you have to do. And you are getting retirement by the age of 60 to 65, let's say. 60 to 65 is the period where you get retired. And what do you do exactly in the retirement stage? You basically go to the temple or do certain kind of hobbies, develop qualities, and spend some time with your family, or sometimes you just go and have a whole round trip around the world. So Banaprastha basically they go to Bana. Sannyasa. This exactly the point which we are practically not doing, but it was one of the natural stage. We do feel a detachment at the end of our later stage of life. We do see that they are less interested in family things and they're more into the spiritual aspect. So sannyasis basically, they leave the house, they do not have any house, they visit many places, they do the bhiksha and they sustain their life. They do not cook the food. Whatever they'll have, they'll have it, and they do not keep it for tomorrow. For them, there is no tomorrow. They just live their life for the present and with the Bhagavat Aradhana. They dedicate their life for Bhagavat Aradhana. Now, this is basically the natural stage. We do have a feeling, but we do not do it practically. But yes, train people to sustain life or livelihood. Now, if you do not have an education, it is impossible for you to implement that education or make it into earning job. Money earning process. Once you are trained enough, you can earn money. You can make your life sustain. You can live your life with the family and all these things. Also, it gives you a smooth journey to the society to achieve the real knowledge. What is that real knowledge? The moksha. Ultimately, you do not want to spend your life thinking that who am I, or not knowing that who am I, or maybe not even questioning yourself that who am I. So even to derive that particular interest and all, you cannot just jump from brahmacharya ashram and suddenly go to the sannyasa. You can, but you just have to process through. Not everyone can jump through. Not everyone is Shankaracharya. Not everyone is the Vivekananda. Any person who has achieved this particular real knowledge with a short span of time. Simple people needs step-by-step process. So this helps basically to go with it. Now, samskara, this particular one, some of them which are being followed currently, not many of them are being followed. In Gautama Dharma Sutra, they have mentioned about, as I mentioned, 40 types. But currently, 16 samskaras are quite popular in many books, text. Some of the samskaras are also being followed. Now, they have been divided into 5 categories. If you see the 16 samskaras I'm telling you right now. Prenatal samskara. This is Garbhadhana, Pumshavana, Simontanayana. And samskara for the childhood. Jatakarana, Jatakarma, Namakarana, Nishkramana, Annaprashana, Chudakarana, Karanavedha. Then educational samskara, which helps you to enter into school. Vidyarambha, Upanayana, of course. Vedarambha, Keshanta, Samavartana. Then the marriage samskara. Funeral ceremony, of course, the Antyeshtikriya, the Sesha Avastha. Now, this particular last 3, maybe you might be knowing more or less. The educational one, you already know Upanayana and Janeyu and all these things. Vidyarambha also you know. Keshanta, Samavartana. Samavartana is nothing but currently you are having convocation in the modern universities and colleges. Those are the Samavartana once you are done with the studies. Now, what about the first 2 categories, prenatal samskara and samskaras of childhood? Now, this Garbhadhana, once you, to prepare your body to conceive, you will have a samskara, that is Garbhadhana. And Pumsavana while having the baby, and Simantanana also while having the fetus, basically not the baby, the fetus in your womb. So they do just like you say baby shower. Right now you are having a modern style of baby shower. Those days they were having Simantanana, Pumsavana. So they will use some ghee and some guda and all. I think some of the regions in India are still doing it, and they do it for to make the girl happy, to gift her so many things so that she'll be happy, and other rituals as well. So yes, these some of the 16 samskaras are practically being implemented. Then childhood samskara, once baby is born, what about that? Now you know that you have a Jata Karma Samskara once you are born, then after 21 days or some 27 days and all, you do have some samskara, and you do name them. For their naming, you are declaring to the society that what would be their name, and you make them eat certain food. For the first time, they'll eat some food. And Karna Veda Chudakarana, some of them are being followed and many of them are not happening currently. What is their purpose? Samskara. What would happen if there will be no samskara? Like if you read the Dharma Sutras and Smritis as well, they say that the samskara, if you do not do, I mean, by the book, textbook word, you will get more of the scene, and it is like you are not doing your Nitya Karma. You cannot live your life without brushing your teeth or taking a bath every day. So this is more of this kind of, your body requires this samskara. If you do not do it, not only you are having a papa, you're neglecting your body. Now, their main purpose, removal of hostile influences. What hostile influences you might be thinking? Maybe some diseases, maybe certain things which you do not see but have their influence on the body. Gaining materialistic virtue. Okay, now, of course, if you perform it, the samskara, if you do it in a process, what is recommended by Vedas, the sutras, definitely you are earning the punya karma. Self-expression, you get exposure to express yourself, like Vidyarambha and Upanayana Samskara. You get like you reach the puberty age where you can speak about your ideas, you speak about your views and all. Formation and development of personality, of course, it is very important. It helps you to smoothly go with this formation stage and development stage. You get to remark it, you get to notice it. Yeah, this is what happened. So many, all of us have seen all these remarkable changes in our personality. What we were in class 1 or in standard 1, and now, or in our college days, people say that I have done some remarkable things in my college days. I have spent this thing, I have done this thing with my friends and all. This is this development age. Get exposed once you go to Gurukula, because after the Upanayana Samskara and Vedarambha, then only you are eligible to go to Gurukula Ashrama, basically. Those days they were having schools in Bana, just to mention, clarify this. They'll go to forest, there will be a hermit, and he will be teaching all the students regarding their choiceable Vedas, Shastras and all. So yes, the development, spiritual significance. From the childhood itself, when you are inclined towards the spirituality, the mantras, the verses, and their process to understand all this spirituality, definitely it will make a remarkable influence in your mind, and you will be more into knowing, more interested would be, who am I? The real knowledge, as we have already mentioned. This is almost like a basic from a childhood to till that. They make you realize that what you are in exact point of time. Now, Achara, this is a very vast and very famous and most demanded topic in Dharma Sutras and Shastras as well. They speak about Sadachara. They speak about Achara. What is Achara? Achara Paramo Dharma Sarveshamiti Nishchaya, which does not affect, in negative way to any person. That exactly the Achara, which advise you to perform your duties properly. That is Achara. You need to understand what is your dharma, your duties and responsibilities. Understanding itself is Sadachara, Achara. Now, this all things, and the quality which doesn't make or doesn't create any kinds of kuvichara or any disgust ideas like Isha, Dvesha, jealousy and all. This thing, if it doesn't create in your mind, you know that you have the achara in you, or you may be developing it. What about anhika in here? In achara, they discussed about certain things. Among them is anhika. That is, what is anhika? It is the daily activities related to shaucha, cleanliness. They say in many shastras that you have, before you go for puja, you have to clean yourself. Now, cleaning yourself has a very deeper meaning. What is that? First meaning is just go take a bath or clean yourself. All the dirts from the outside will be cleaned enough. As well as you clean your mind and prepare your mind to concentrate on the spiritual aspect you are going to do, you are going to perform. While thinking of Shiva, or by doing the puja of Shiva, should not be thinking that, oh, I should murder someone tomorrow. Should not be thinking that one. So pavitrata, the shauchata, this purification or cleanliness doesn't only specify to the bahya shaucha, the outer one. It is also the inner one. You should not be going to temple and thinking about kidnapping someone. No. Shauchata, you have gone to temple to worship, to concentrate on something. That is part of Anika. Tarpana, it is very famous. Currently, we do, maybe some of you might be doing it. Many of the younger generation people doesn't understand what is the dharma. Surya Tarpana, they say. So you will take one particular tumbler in the morning and you give to the Surya. But sun is taking that particular Tarpana. Basically, you are giving that particular Tarpana to your great grandfathers, your fathers, and your Purba Purushas, your ancestors, in short. As well as some creatures whom you do not see, but doesn't require some kind of a care. So that is a part of Tarpana. Sandhya Vandana, again, many people understand Sandhya means evening time puja. But Sandhya has another deeper meaning according to the Dharma Sutras and Smriti. The Sandhi period means neither morning nor night. Neither sun has sun has risen from the east or has gone to the west. That particular period is called Sandhya. So we do have Sandhya 2 times a day. Early morning and early evening, 2 period. Morning, the sun comes from the east, but it doesn't go to the west all of a sudden. It will just, Pratah Kalina Surya. Then evening, of course, you have it while it's setting down to the west, neither it is set or it is arise. So that is the period of Sandhya. And the famous story we have, the Narasimha Avatara, Sandhya Kalina period. Okay, it should not be neither morning or should not be evening. Okay, the Sandhya Vandana, that is mandatory. Now, when I say mandatory, when I say in the sense, the Dharma Sutras, I represent Dharma Sutra currently. So Dharma Sutra says that Sandhya Vandana is mandatory. Know that it has some effect on our body. It has effect on our mind. And of course, Yagya Karma, I do not have to explain more about it. They recommend to have Yagya and Homa almost every day. But in which form? Let me go to the next slide. I will explain to you how you can have, or how you have been recommended by Dharma Sutras to have Yagya every day. Abhivadana, this is the most important thing. We as an Indian are very proud of us. Since the Corona period has come, we always do the Namaskara. Now this has been popularly accepted by all over the world, as we cannot touch and all these things, handshake and all has been banned. Now there is so much thing in Abhivadana. They say how to introduce yourself to the elders in Dharma Sutras. How to introduce yourself and how to do the Abhivadanam to the people whom are here as your guest. Here in our Manusmriti, they say Abhivadana Shilasya Nityam Vruddhopasevina Chatvari Tasya Vardhante Ayur Vidya Yasho Balam. Person who performs Abhivadana as correctly as possible, which is recommended, he will gain 4 things. Ayur, age. Vidya, knowledge. Yasha, he will be famous enough. Balam, strength. This 4 thing will automatically come. And you also do know, you might be heard somewhere, people who give the Ashirvada, they say that automatically the Ayu from that particular person who gives the Ashirvada comes to the person who receives it. So it has a very good impact on us. So that is also recommended. Dana in the form of yajna, in the form of studies in the sense, when I'm teaching you, it is the Vidya Dana. And medicines, as a doctor, when I give you to the sick person, when they give, that is also very important. A teacher or for marriage, Kanyadana. These donations are part of social condition and codes. This is the part of this achara. Basically, it has more, but I have specified into this. Now, just now I mentioned that how you will do the yajnas every day. In Gautama Dharma Sutra, Apastamba Dharma Sutra, they have mentioned about 5 kinds of yajna to perform every day. But to whom? To the grihastha, to the married person. Now, married person includes the couple. Please do not think that it will be done only by the purusha. The stri has to be there for this particular yajna as well. I mean, only the grihastha will do, not the brahmachari, not the banaprasthi, not the sannyasi, only the grihasthi. Now, what are these? Brahma yajna. Brahma yajna is nothing but reciting the Vedic text, mantrocharanam, the Gayatri mantra you've been speaking of, okay, and the Shiva Panchakshara mantra, all these mantras, okay, suktas, whatever, these are the recitation. If you do it, that is the Brahma yajna itself. So the idea of yajna, which we know that only pouring the ghee in the fire itself, the yajna, no, there is a different yajna itself. Okay, Deva yajna, worshipping in the morning, in the evening. I just told you, with the rice and barley. Okay, this is for Devata to offer. You give once in a while, you give the Shraddha, Tarpana and Pindadana, all these things you give, no? Those kind of things you have to do it every morning, every evening. Bhuta yajna, offering food to the animals at various places outside the fire. I mean, near the water pot, trees, well cleaned ground. Now you might be seeing in olden times, they used to keep some vegetables, some rice, water and all these things. Those will be given to the animals, or maybe some of your family members might have done it. Every day they will cook food and they will take some of the food in a banana leaf, and they'll keep it in the upstairs, in the terrace, for crow to eat, or they'll give it to cow. So bhuta yajna. Pitra yajna, I just told you, Shraddha, Pindadana, which you do, and along with the word Swadha. When you offer food and water to Pitra Purusha, along with the word Swadha, then only it reaches to them, not before that. Then Manusha yajna, this is another interesting fact. When you have guests, when you give them the food, when you appraise them, all these things are basically, this particular portion will be considered as the Manusha yajna. So here, if you see, you are basically not doing any yajna vidhana by pouring the ghee every day and night. You are doing some act, but why you are doing this Panchamahayajna? What is the purpose of it? Just think deeper. When you recite mantra, when you worship the Devata, and when you feed the animals, you justify the social code. You justify the social norms that you are not alone in the society who are eating food. You have to make other living creatures live along with you. That is Bhuta Yajna, Deva Yajna, and Brahma Yajna, of course. Brahma Yajna is for your own. When you're reading it again and again, of course, at one point you will be enlightened enough. Oh, this is the meaning of this particular mantra. That happens when you read Bhagavad Gita every day. Pitra Yajna. When you give the Pinda Dana to your Pitra Purusha, it makes them satisfied. As well as some Pitra Purusha who are actually, staying around us, protecting us from many things, just like thanking them. Thank you so much for being us. Manusha Yajna, I believe this is most of the interesting one, that currently when we have guests, It is a very difficult situation to explain. We do have many films that Atithi, Ghar Kab Jaoge, and so many other things. But those days, according to Dharma Sutra, when you treat a human being, a guest, with the food and all, they give their punya, their ashirvada to you. That is one of the basic social code to make you, engage in society. Now, when you visit many places, do not have a person who will not have shelter, who will not have food. You are offering the food, bed, shelter. What else the punya could be? This is the best punya. So in this way, they have recommended you to do some yajna by making you perform some rituals, but indirectly, their intention is to sustain the society, sustain the life. Okay. Law and administration. Now, Raja Dharma is basically the most popular one, and we do have many discussion over it. We do have Saptangas. Saptanga means 7 elements of Raja Dharma, where Swami means the Raja, Amatya, the Mantri, ministers and councillors and all, Shruhut, Mitra, friend, Durga is the fort, Kosha, the treasury, Danda is punishment. So this all things are basically the Saptanga part. Now, why Saptanga? Without them, our kingdom cannot run. This is exactly the kingdom, how it runs. Now, first, in Gautama Dharma Sutra, Apastama, many Dharma Sutras strongly recommend the king to have a very good council. This particular council will have 10-member council, which will have 4 people knowing each each Vedas, Brahmachari, who has been studying the Vedas in Gurukula, Grihastha, of course, Bhikshuka, and 3 people well versed of Dharma Shastra. Now, this is the only idea of Gautama Dharma Sutra. This is the idea of Dharma Sutrakaras, not the Dharma Shastrakara. Dharma Shastrakara speaks of a different thing. And then this Artha Shastra also speaks of a different thing. But yes, this is what Dharma Sutra says. Departmental officials. Now see, when you prepare a council, you do not expect the king or this particular council member to visit all the districts, all the villages to know how people are staying or to maintain each department. So they have specified, they have recommended the Raja to have a separate official department for mines, forest, customs, the business part where you do all these things, because you have to work smoothly. Now, taxation is, I have already mentioned, 1/6% of annual income from the crops and seeds. Cattle and gold, what you have income in whole annum, 2% you have to give as a tax. Forest item, 1/6 portion of that particular, annual income. Espionage, basically the duta, okay, the spy. Why do you have to have the spy? Then only you will know what is happening in your kingdom as well as in, other kingdom, enemy kingdom. Why? Because you need to prepare. You have to prepare for every single situation. It can have a home, a home run. It can have any kind of problem inside the kingdom itself, or any kind of any other country, king might attack you. So you have to prepare for that. You will have a spy. Punishment. This is a very a detailed thing they have discussed in many places. Now, specifically, they do that you have to punish the person according to their severity of crime. Now, punishment of stealing also has been classified, like, stealing the gold items, stealing the rice, stealing the cows. It has a different part of punishment, different, share of punishment. So now they do not say that it will be less. They do not say that it should be high. They say it balanced one. So according to the severity of crime. So law and administration. Now economic life. we are a agricultural country. It is not from now, it is from the ancient time as well. So cattle breeding, agriculture, irrigational work, these were being recommended, is been in most of the demand we see, we read. They also talk about low income jobs like Shilpa Jiba, pottery, stoneworks and all, hunting, the fishing, performing arts and all these things. That also, but that comes under the non-taxable income group. Okay. Then they also speak about another particular aspect. They speak about interest rate. If you are giving money, if you are lending money to someone, how we will have the the interest. So they have Chakrabriddhi, compound interest, Kala Briddhi, stipulated interest money, which is stipulated in a period of time, Karita Briddhi, mutually agreed interest amount, Kaika Briddhi, repayable by physical work. If you cannot pay the money, at least, I mean, the interest, you will have to have some physical work to repay it. Shikha Briddhi, that is daily interest. Abhibhoga Briddhi, somebody has mortgaged some property at you, and since they are not able to pay any interest or money, you're using it. Now once you use it, what would be the interest rate? It will be high or it will be low. Those things has been discussed. Now inheritance, another aspect. They have clearly mentioned in every single Dharma Sutra, they have mentioned only after the death of father, property will be shared among the children. Now when I say children, mostly in the Dharma Sutra they mention son, but they have kept Stridhana specifically for the daughters. Maybe the unmarried or the poor married daughter. For them, they have specifically kept the Stridhana, which will not be passed on to the to the son if there is no daughter. So if mother Stridhana is there, either it will pass on to her daughter, or if there is no daughter, her sister or her sister's daughter, somebody in the lady in the family, then only. In the absence of son, suppose there is no son, then the property can be given to the daughter's son, which will be adopted by the parents of girl, I mean the daughter. That son name will be Putrika. There has been discussion of 12 kinds of son who are eligible to inherit family property. How? If Brahmana is getting married to Vaishya or Kshatriya and they are having kids, so who is eligible to get how much share from the property? How will you decide? Brahmana marrying Brahmana, Kshatriya marrying Brahmana, Kshatriya marrying Vaishya, all these kind of marriages which create Varna Shankara Santana, how much amount they will inherit in the family property, they have discussed. And they have mentioned in another thing that if the Brahmana is dead and he has some kind of money, then it can be distributed only in Brahmana. Raja cannot take it. None of the people can take it. Nobody will exploit it or nobody will inherit. Only the Brahmana or the Brahmana clan, it can be distributed in the Brahmana clan. Prayashchita, if you have done any kinds of mistake, knowingly, unknowingly, you will have Prayashchita. Some of the Dharma Sutra says that maybe some kind of punishments are also given in the form of Prayashchita. Certain punishments they are given in the Prayashchita. Now, way to reduce the sin, they have given Anutapa, the realization, and don't repent for it. Pranayama, when you control the consequence of sin. It is not the pranayama which we have discussed in yoga darshana or Sankhya darshana. Then tapas, do have the penance and reduce the amount of papa. Homa, of course. Japa, chanting the mantras and to purify your heart by effective mantras. Dana, giving donation. Upavasa, by penance for omitting the Vedic rites. This is specifically for if you're not performing any Vedic rituals, you will do the Upavasa. Tirtha Yatra, I mean, if you do have to destroy your heaps of sin and all, you just have to Tirtha Yatra like Banaras or Triveni Sangam or Haridwar, some places. So yes, so before we go, I would like to ask a few things. I mean, there might be some kind of things in the mind that why should we read Dharma Sutra? What is the purpose of it? I mean, not in this class, in general, people say, that is it required to be, read by us? It is in the past. It happened in the past. What is relevant? It is, in fact, it's more of a logical. It speaks about so many things. It reflects partiality. But there are so many logical things when you read it and you understand it and you realize it doesn't ask you to follow it. It is more of an advisory text to let you know what happened, learn from this history, move ahead. Maybe if you are thinking that this time is different from that the previous time, you may get the inspiration from this current one and do some new things, the new rules, propose a new dharma sutras maybe. But whatever you do, at the end of the day, it should be into the category of dharma. It should fall into the category of dharma. It should not deviate from that particular, line of interest. I have to know what exactly why I am here, and what is my responsibility, duty, and what should be done by me. That needs to be understood. So here I conclude. I think I have already finished my timeline, 1 hour session. And I thank Chinmay Vishwavidyapeeth for giving us this platform to discuss. They are different. As I mentioned already, that I go with the P.V. Kane's theory. Dharma Sutras are written before the Smriti period, mostly. And the idea reflected in Dharma Sutra has been borrowed by the Smritis. I have already mentioned in my some of my table. No, it is not recommended to only Brahmanas. It will be done by every person. And you may say it is, done by Brahmachari. When I say Brahmachari, those who are not married. So
but even Brahmanas do it. Many Brahmanas do it every day, twice a day. I mean, Sandhya Vandana.
No, if you read the Dharma Sutra, they do not say that it is meant only for the no. It is not meant for the Brahmanas. It is for all Varnas. Like the Gayatri Upasana. When you do the Sandhya Bandhanam, along with that you do Gayatri Upasana. So it is meant for all. Now I will have a very small answer for it. What if your name will not be declared to anyone? Namakarana Samskara. Nobody will know it. Eventually in certificate people will know it. So that is one thing. Second thing, if logically if you go with the sutra, the textbook style, if you do not have Upanana Samskara, for example, you're not eligible to go for, you're not ready enough to, go to the institute.
But then I think with the changing times, all these samskaras, Gautama speaks of 40 samskaras, others speak of 16 samskaras. So all these samskaras for in urban area especially, it's not possible to perform all these samskaras. But still, they do perform the Namakarana, Upanayana, Vivaha and Antyeshti. These 4 samskaras are like very important. So they are being performed even now. Nishkramana, I think, is going out when the child is taken out for the first time.
Yeah.
Is it not? So we visit a temple and all,
yes.
When the child is taken the first time.
First time outside to see this world. Yes. And Annaprashana, they are giving you the first bite of food, the first rasa, the payasam they give you. Yes. So, yes, you are skipping it, but when you skip it, your child is missing out many things.
Yeah. So thank you, Sushri. Thank you for that broad review of a very vast topic. The Dharma Sutras is a very vast topic. There are hundreds of smritis. and hundreds of dharma shastras, and basically all deal with dharma pertaining to human beings and the ecosystem along with the human beings. So if you see the Pancha Mahayajnas also, it is basically the ecosystem which we take care of, like Bhuta Yajna and other things. And Pitru Yajna, this is more of a gratitude to our ancestors, the Shraddha, etc. And Deva Yajna, that is also gratitude. So Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika, all that is there. And the Ranatraya Sankalpana is also there, the Pitru Runa, Deva Runa, etc., Rishi Runa. So all these have been, dealing with the human being and his dharma, his duties, his way of life, and therefore how he should eat, ahara, achara, vichara, vyavahara. And in vyavahara, if he makes some mistakes, then there are prayashchittas. As a reattributive act, there are danas. So there are so many ways and means, and they are not static. They have been evolving. So there are many, later Dharma Sutras are more liberal, as we find compared to Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti is more liberal. So like that, it is not a static or, dicta. This has to be followed at any cost of time. It's not that, because they are continuously evolving. So thank you, Sushri, for a wonderful talk. And I thank all others here who have participated and asked questions. See you again for Shulba Sutras, which is the geometry of the Yajnas, of the Vedic Yajnas. So let me conclude.
Yes.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.